Welcome children. Today we will start with a new chapter for Standard 7's Chapter 4 Air, and this is the first part of this chapter. Now children, what is air? Air is a special substance that floats around the earth. It is something you cannot see, but you can feel it and you can swish your hands through it. Air is a mixture of gases. Air is made up of 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen and 1% other gases. Air is odorless, tasteless and colorless. Air takes up space and has weight. Air allows us to breathe. It is responsible for all forms of life. And children, if there is no oxygen in the atmosphere, everything would die. Now we give a very fancier name to this blanket of air that surrounds the earth, and we call it the atmosphere. Now as we call it the blanket of air, it is similar to the blanket that we use during winters. Just like the blanket protects us from the cold, similarly the atmosphere protects and saves the heat, does not allow the heat of the earth to escape into space and keeps the earth warm. So you see children, the atmosphere is so important. All living beings on this earth depend on the atmosphere for their survival. It provides us the air we breathe and protects us from the harmful effects of the sun rays. Children, without this blanket of protection, without the atmosphere, we would be baked alive by the heat of the sun during the day and get frozen during the night. So it is this mass of air that has made the temperature on the earth livable, and that is why there is life on earth. Now children, the atmosphere is thickest near the earth's surface, and as it moves away from the earth's surface it gets thinner with height, thinner and thinner. Okay, so children, do you know that the air we breathe is actually a mixture of gases which makes up the bulk of the atmosphere? Now which are the gases? They are nitrogen, oxygen, you can see carbon dioxide, helium, hydrogen, neon, argon. All this mixture of air is there in our atmosphere. Now apart from these gases, there is also water vapor and dust particles in the atmosphere. So you see, this dust particles are very important as water vapor condenses around them, and without them there cannot be fog or mist. Now children, let us look at the composition of the atmosphere. You can see in the atmosphere the plentiful gas is nitrogen, which is 78%. The next important gas is oxygen, which is 21%. And then apart from there are very less other quantities of gases which are in very less quantities. You can see it is carbon dioxide, argon and traces of other oxygen like hydrogen, ozone, helium. Okay, and apart from this, as I told you, there is dust and also water vapor. So children, nitrogen is the most plentiful gas in the air. It is 78%. When we inhale, we take some amount of nitrogen into our lungs and exhale it. But plants need nitrogen for their survival. They cannot take nitrogen directly from the air. So bacteria that lives in the soil and roots of some plants take nitrogen from the air and changes its form so that plants can use it. Okay, and also as I told you, it avoids quick burning. It has no color, odor or taste. Oxygen is the second most plentiful gas in the air. Humans and animals take oxygen from the air as they breathe. Green plants produce oxygen during the process of photosynthesis, and in this way the oxygen content in the air remains constant. Okay, and oxygen helps in burning, and the percentage of oxygen in the air is 21%. So you see children, if we cut trees, then this balance of oxygen in the atmosphere gets disturbed. So children, to maintain this balance, we must plant trees. So how important it is to plant trees to maintain the balance of oxygen in the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide is another important gas. It occupies only 0.03% of the air, and green plants, they use carbon dioxide to make their food and release oxygen through the process of photosynthesis. Now children, humans and animals release carbon dioxide. The amount of carbon dioxide released by humans or animals seems to be equal to the amount used by plants, which makes a perfect balance. However, this balance can get upset. Now, carbon dioxide released in the atmosphere creates a greenhouse effect by trapping the heat radiated from the earth. So you see, the carbon dioxide traps the heat radiated from the earth, and therefore it is called a greenhouse. And without it, earth would have been very cold to live in, because it traps the heat and it makes it like a blanket and covers, like the blanket covers us and protects us from the cold. Carbon dioxide also does not allow the heat to escape into the atmosphere and keeps the earth warm. Okay? But when the level of carbon dioxide increases due to burning of fuel like coal and oil, due to the factory smoke or fumes from vehicles and cars, all these increase the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So when the carbon dioxide increases in the atmosphere, it increases the temperature of the earth, which leads to global warming. So when there is too much of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, it makes the earth hotter and hotter, leading to global warming. That means the earth is becoming hot. Now children, let us look into the effects of global warming. Now when there is too much of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, it leads to global warming, and it causes the snow in the coldest part of the world to melt. So you children, you see, when the snow melts, as a result the sea level rises, causing floods in the coastal area, and land gets submerged. Now due to global warming, there may be drastic changes in the climate of a place, leading to extinction of some plants and animals in the long run. So children, let us see the do you know section in your textbook. It says when air is heated, it expands, okay, because the molecules separate out and becomes light and it goes up, okay, and cold air is heavy and dense, so it sinks down. So when hot air rises, cold air from the surrounding area rushes to fill the gap, and this is how air circulation takes place. So now let's move ahead to the next topic, that is structure of the atmosphere. Now children, our atmosphere is also made up of layers. Now let me give you an example of what these layers are. I want to give you an example of a burger. Okay, so to make a burger, what do? We take a bun and cut it into two halves. Okay, so the first half we place it at the bottom, okay, and over it we place a layer of hamburger, okay, on top of that some cut tomatoes, a layer of cut tomatoes, and then on top of the tomatoes we have a layer of lettuce, and then we spread a layer of mayonnaise on it, and then we cover it with the cut other half of the bun. So you can see the layers of the burger. Okay, so which are the layers? It is bun, then hamburger, tomato, lettuce, mayonnaise, and then again a layer of bun. So like we see the layers in a hamburger, similarly our atmosphere also has 5 different layers. So let's look into it. Now our atmosphere is divided into 5 layers starting from the Earth's surface. So from the Earth's surface, the first layer is the troposphere. You can see the first layer is the troposphere. The next layer is the stratosphere. Okay, the third layer is the mesosphere. The fourth layer is the thermosphere. And the fifth layer is the exosphere. And after that it is outer space. Now children, let us go into detail about each layer of the atmosphere. We will first study about the troposphere, which is the first layer and the most important layer of the atmosphere. Its average height is 13 kilometers. So you can see it's 13 kilometers. The temperature in this layer decreases with increasing height. As we go up in height, the temperature decreases. Now the troposphere is roughly 8 kilometers near the poles and 18 kilometers over the equator. Okay. Now this layer is very important because this layer has the air we breathe, that is oxygen, and all weather phenomenon like clouds, fog, thunder, lightning, hailstorm, rainfall, all this occur in this layer. So you see the importance of troposphere. Children, above the troposphere we have the stratosphere. Okay, it extends up to a height of 50 kilometers, and the temperature of this layer remains constant up to a height of about 20 kilometers and then increases with increasing height. It increases here. Okay. Now this stratosphere has a very important feature, that it contains a layer of ozone gas, and as you know, which is called as a ozonosphere. It has a layer. Okay, and as you know, ozone gas, it protects us from the harmful effects of the sun rays. It protects us from sunburns and skin cancer. So this layer is very important because it has the ozone layer. Now this stratosphere is free from clouds and other weather phenomenons and makes the conditions most ideal for flying aeroplanes. So there is no turbulence. So when the pilots take off, they increase the height of the plane and try and reach the stratosphere where they can fly smoothly. The third layer of the atmosphere is the mesosphere. It is the coldest layer. It is because the temperature decreases with height and reaches about 100 degrees Celsius at the height of 80 kilometers. So you can see the range of the mesosphere. The height is from 50 kilometers to 80 kilometers. It extends up to 80 kilometers. Now in this layer, meteors burn up. In this layer, it is because the mesosphere has enough gases which cause friction and creates heat to burn up the meteors, and that is why it prevents the meteors from hitting the Earth's surface. So you see the importance of this layer. So you see the next layer is the thermosphere, where the temperature increases rapidly with the increase in height, and the temperature reaches more than 1500 degrees Celsius. Okay, and the height is varies from 80 kilometers to 400 kilometers. Now the thermosphere has a very important part in this layer, which is called as the ionosphere, which has electrically positive and negative charged ions, which helps in radio transmission. The satellites in the thermosphere reflect low frequency radio waves back to Earth and makes space communication possible. The uppermost layer of the atmosphere, which is the last layer of the atmosphere, is known as the exosphere. This layer is very thin, and light gases like helium and hydrogen float into the space from here. So after the exosphere, it is only outer space, and the temperature here is 4500 degrees Celsius. So children, you can see the temperature of the exosphere is 4500 degrees Celsius, and after the exosphere, which I told you is thin air, it is outer space. So children, you can see the importance of each layer of the atmosphere, and without these layers, life would not have been possible on the earth. Let's recap. Troposphere. Actually, I told you it consists of the air we breathe, okay? And it consists of all the weather phenomena like rainfall, fog, hailstorms occur in this layer. Then we go to stratosphere. We can see this area is free from clouds, and it makes it ideal conditions for planes to fly. And it also has an important layer called the ozone layer, which protects us from the harmful rays of the sun. Then we went to mesosphere. I told you mesosphere, the meteorites burn here and prevents the meteorites from hitting the earth's surface. Okay, so and then we have thermosphere, where it also has a layer of ionosphere with electric charged ions and makes radio transmission possible. And then exosphere, which is very thin layer. After that it is outer space. So we see without the atmosphere there would have been no life on earth. Now you must be thinking in your mind of certain questions, and I hope these are the ones. If you have any other questions in your mind, please do write in my comment box, and I sure will address to it. Now the first one is, why does the atmosphere surround our earth? Why is there a blanket of air around our earth? Yes, this is because of the gravitational pull of the earth. Okay, because of the gravitational pull of the earth, it keeps the atmosphere all around the earth's surface. Okay, and that's why, because of the atmosphere, there is life on earth. It is a livable planet. Now second question is, what would happen if there is abundance of oxygen in the air? If there's too much of oxygen in the air, is too much of oxygen will also destroy human cells, and then you know, oxygen is a supporter of combustion. Everything will start burning. Okay, and the third is, why is there 78% of nitrogen in the atmosphere, plentiful of nitrogen in the atmosphere? Now first of all, nitrogen is volatile in most of its form. It is unreacted with the materials that make up the solid earth, and it is very stable in the presence of solar radiation. So it does not allow things to burn and keeps it stable. So that's the reason. And you see the percentage of the gases in the atmosphere remains constant, and you see if there is increase in carbon dioxide, which is happening, will lead to global warming. And you must have read about the nitrogen cycle, which maintains the balance of nitrogen in the atmosphere. So children, with this we come to an end of part 1 of the chapter, that is on air, and in the next video we'll take up the other topics of this chapter. Till then, please do view and subscribe